Anyway, silliness. Let's get back to some real stuff. How does that happen? Jeez, Lord. Also, I don't know why they broke the windshield and not like the side window. But, you know, whatever. It's fine. It's normal. It probably would hit the baby. That would be one of my worst nightmares. It could happen so easily. Accidentally left the keys in the car. Nah, bitch, you left the child in the car. I mean, it doesn't seem like it was on purpose, chatter. Like, they literally probably accidentally locked themselves out of the car and immediately, like, they asked for help and came in and broke the windshield.
The baby up.
Like, it's not like one of those situations where they, like, left the baby in the car deliberately and locked it. The parent is right there, you know what I mean? They noticed it. They're at a gas station. Like, this is not one of those circumstances where they like left the baby in the car for an extended period of time or anything. They seemingly legitimately just left it. I started going to the office because they keep it cold and I don't have to use my own AC. Jesus Christ. So the chatter keeps asking, Hasan, what do you think about like going vegan personally, reduce your emissions? I think you literally do not understand. It's no different than like, you know, I don't know, reducing the amount of showers you take personally, okay? This needs to be done at a systemic level. I am perfectly in tune and on board with making limitations on our consumption choices, especially as long as it's done at the level of government, okay? The notion of personal responsibility makes you feel good. Maybe you feel like you're contributing less to the ecological disasters that are coming our way, and that's fine and dandy. But if we're talking about genuine systemic solutions, it still has to be done at the government level. What that means is straight up. I do believe this. If they legitimately were to get people on board, or even without getting people on board, maybe like reduce the amount of subsidies offered to like poultry to make it more difficult to produce, I would be on board with it. You just need 100 more vegans and EV drivers who are in the clear. Like, if millions went vegan, it would objectively help. Listen, vegans, I love you all. Okay? Millions are not going vegan on their own. Okay? It needs to be done at the systemic level. Okay? Especially when our entire economy at the global level is still heavily reliant on oil and gas. You are on the right side of history. I understand where you're coming from, and it's well-intentioned. And I know that people are just going to get mad at me because I'm just responding to this now, rather than think about shared goals that we have. Okay? But even if you want people to eat less meat, okay, which is an understandable desire, even if you want people to eat less meat, you cannot accomplish that through a personal pact that you have with a bunch of other people where you decide to not eat chicken and beef. You get it? I mean, there are so many other sides of this story that still contribute. Like, there's a tremendous amount of food waste, for example. And also, every dumbass that sends me shit like this, for the record, every dumbass that sends me shit like this is the same kind of dumbass that probably reads articles about how you don't need to take a shower every day, as a matter of fact, and not even think twice about it. Dude, why do I cover liberalism and personal responsibility politics and how it is a Exxon-created initiative to weaponize liberalism and radical individualism against genuine, adequate, and necessary initiatives that would actually hurt their bottom lines? Why do I talk about that ever if you don't recognize what you're seeing in front of you? This was cooked up, not this personally, not this aspect of it, but every single climate change initiative that goes back to the individual single-handedly saving the planet, which surprisingly, maybe for some of you, okay, are probably the only allowed initiatives that have happened. Like, sorry, you have to pay more for a plastic bag, or no more fucking plastic straws at your favorite eatery. Like, these are the only initiatives that have actually happened that are supposed to reduce carbon and reduce our personal carbon footprint and our pollution in general. Why is it that this doesn't trigger any? Why does this not ring any alarm bells in your mind? Big Oil coined the carbon footprints to blame us for their greed. Keep them on the hook. Climate conscious individual choices are good, but not nearly enough to save the planet. More than personal virtue, we need collective action. Collective action in the form of dramatically redefining the way that we operate. Okay? There are so many small initiatives that would work perfectly well, but it would actually harm entire industries. So no one will ever push for it. 1, no more cruises. 2, no more private jets. 99.9% of the public would agree to that. Okay? At the global stage. No more private jets and no more cruisers almost single-handedly take a fat-ass fucking dent. Its impact is marginal. And yet we will never have that happen. Why? Because it's rich people that do that shit. Not just cruises, but like rich people that utilize private jets, even though private jets, which have skyrocketed in popularity, especially due to the K-shaped recovery during COVID, especially with the rich getting infinitely more rich and finding new ways to avoid the average everyday person. There are manageable ways to start off. There are successful and manageable ways to like start putting a dent in this, and they're an easy ass fucking ban, and yet we still don't do this. Private jets are an easy ban, sure, but they're like 0.1% of total emissions. Personal light duty vehicles are 1/6 of US total emissions. I agree. But 0.1% of total emissions is still significantly more than what could be achieved by people just being like, I'm going on a pact to become vegan. That's my point. And not only that, but also there are successful alternatives to that. The successful alternatives to this, personal light duty vehicles, is still a fuck ton of infrastructural support in the form of public transit, which I'm on board with. You guys already know this. A billionaire is responsible for 1 million times more greenhouse gas emissions than the average person. Billionaire investments in polluting industries such as fossil fuels and cement doubled the average for the S&P 500. The investments of just 125 billionaires emit 393 million tons of CO2 each year. This isn't billionaires in their own personal consumption, though. This is more so about billionaires and where they're, what stocks they're paying into. This muddies the water a little bit. As I was stating, a climate scientist once described the necessary changes to me as mass mobilization on the scale of World War II. The reason why I mentioned the private jet thing is because, fuck, where was it? Oh my God, Kai's being so fucking cute right now without even realizing it. She has no idea that thousands of people are watching her be the cutest. Oh, here. Private jets emitted a total of 5.3 million tons of CO2 in the last 3 years, with the number of flights skyrocketing from nearly 119,000 in 2020 to 573,000 in 2022. That amount of carbon dioxide is more than Uganda, a country of 46 million people, produces in a year. Tell me that that's insignificant. Tell me that that's fucking insignificant, dude. Private jets make up, I think but I'm pretty sure private jets now emit like almost 30% of all carbon dioxide in comparison to the entire travel. That's very wrong. Total world emissions is 371 billion tons per year. 2 million tons per year is pretty small there. Okay. Overall, you have to compare it to other methods of travel. You have to compare it to other methods of travel. When you look at it, the usage of private jets in comparison to every single initiative you make, you have to look at the opportunity costs, because that's what people are going to be looking at. You have to look at what the other reasonable alternatives are. Okay? And, here, this is what I was thinking of. Oh, here it is. The jets are the 1% of global warmers. According to the Institute for Policy Studies, private jets emit at least 10 times more pollutants than a commercial plane per passenger. As a result, 1% of the population is responsible for generating half of the greenhouse gases emitted by aviation. Is encouraging veganism, abolition of animal agriculture subsidies part of your political fight the same way transit is? You're willing to fight change for people's transportation methods, but not their diets, even though they're equally individualized? No. No, the reason why I'm fighting for... Okay, I don't like having this conversation with vegans because there's two separate arguments at play here. Vegans are not vegan in usual circumstances, in most circumstances, because they care about the environment. That's just an additional benefit. Vegans are vegans because they personally believe that it's animal agriculture or just any kind of animal consumption is done without consent, and it's fucked up because these are organisms that have feelings and they're beautiful and wonderful, and we should just not eat them, especially when alternatives exist that does not harm animals. Okay? If we're talking about it from the perspective of like climate change and the environmental impact, we're having an entirely different conversation. The reason why I don't have that same exact energy for pushing for veganism in the same way that I do for public transit is because I personally think that public transit is a perfectly viable alternative for every single person to take advantage of. Walkable cities and public transit is not only good for the environment, significantly better for the environment, it's good for the population in general. The only reason why we don't have it is because of money, because of moneyed interests, okay? The reason why I don't have a similar take on veganism is because in a perfect world, I do not have an issue with the consumption of animals in general. I am a speciesist and also personally believe that that raising animals specifically for eating is a normal thing that humans engage in. That's how I believe. That's what I believe. I've also regularly maintained the position that if there were meat alternative substitutes that were readily affordable and had the exact same texture and taste, I would be the first to swap to it. I have tried all of the other alternatives. The macronutrient breakdown, for the most part, is not good for my daily caloric needs. I eat a lot more salads than the average fucking American person, but I also happen to have a lot of poultry on the side of it. In a perfect world, we do not have private jets. Okay? In a perfect world, we do not have such a car-reliant infrastructure. But in my perfect world, at the very least, and that might be different than yours, we can still have some meat. You know? It's all about actual alternatives, not just the moneyed interest in general, but actual alternatives that are readily available. No private jet for thee, but one for me. No, I am not in favor of private jet travel at all. I have hitched a ride on a private jet, but you guys are fucking delusional if you think that, like, I myself have chartered this. I'm not saying you, dude, relax. Oh, sorry. Well, thought you were... Like, there was that one guy on Twitter who was like, I'm a private jet salesperson. Well, he wasn't even British. He lives in Britland. You guys know what I'm talking about? And for the record, okay, I am not stating. For the record, I don't think that it's a bad thing to go vegan. I am supportive of you in your decisions. Vegans' attitude are the main blockade to keep others from going vegan. That is not true even remotely. That's insane. It is a profound amount of social conditioning. It's also the fact that we are carnivores or omnivores. It has nothing to do with vegans being fucking annoying. Vegans being fucking annoying don't help, but that's not the real reason. The real reason is because, I think the main reason is because meat is fucking delicious. But if you are going to come to me and say individual actions are actually going to change the ecological disaster that is anthropogenic climate change, then no, I will tell you that you are actually just simply repeating propaganda created by the very same polluters. These oil and gas companies 100% do purchase renewable energy companies because they want to keep being like the main guys that produce the energy, and they see the writing on the wall, as they have for hundreds or almost 100 years. Sorry, not hundreds. But they also do it specifically so they can like keep pushing, keep stalling the actual progress that could be made in the renewable energy side. What do we fucking do? This shit sucks. Megaphonics. First step is not to listen to Hasan telling 30,000 people that individual action does nothing for a broader society. I mean, you're here. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I talk about that literally all the time. Megaphonics. I talk about that pretty much every day. Glazing over the impact of plant-based diets on the environment and watching a video about oil interests is insane. Well, this is perhaps the best video to watch because I just told you that your carbon footprint and your individual impact on climate change is a direct British Petroleum created PR initiative to move the conversation away from systemic solutions. And the only time when there are actual systemic solutions like ordinances or any kind of fucking law being passed, it's almost always shit that doesn't actually help. Okay? It's always like, oh, we made it so that it's illegal to have a plastic straw. Or we made it so that, you know, your Ralph's, your local Ralph's is going to charge you 50 cents for a fucking plastic bag. They're not doing actual public transportation. They're not doing any actual meaningful ways of addressing factory farming and agricultural production that yields a ton of fucking waste. They're not doing any of that shit. It's just greenwashing. A very real consequence of that is in the chat. It's money well spent. That's how you can still go in a leftist chat. You can still go, hey, whoa, hold on now. Because he's not just talking about fucking people believing that British Petroleum is going to go and like legitimately try to change the planet for the better. There are other shit that they did in that marketing campaign, like carbon footprint and individualizing the responsibility on issues that pertain to on issues that require systemic solutions. And you're repeating that in here, and then when I say, well, that's just propaganda, you go, fuck you. What do you mean? You technically could literally save the planet by going vegan. Here's the fucking stupid argument laid out in a way that you personally understand it. Hasan, why don't you give away all of your money, or why don't you actually open your house up to homeless people if you care about homelessness? People say this all the time to me. What do I tell them? Well, one, I do give a lot of my money away, but that still doesn't change the reality that, like, homelessness is directly caused by the housing market. Okay? When people say that to me, you guys understand and recognize that hyper-individualizing systemic problems is an idiotic way to solve them. Okay? But when it comes down to that exact same argument, but from a liberal perspective, you all jump on board. This does not mean that I'm stating that, like, your individual actions will not actually put a dent, I guess, especially if it is mass adopted. But the same could be said for people who open their homes up to homeless people. If everybody opened their houses up to homeless people, then there would be less people that are homeless. Right? Technically, you're doing something smart. You're doing something good. Why don't you save the world like this? Or whenever people say, Hasan, give all your money away to the government, or give all your money away right now. Do it. What will I save in that regard? Who will I save in that regard? Perhaps that money will be very helpful to a couple people, but it will not put a dent in these systemic problems, especially when the systems are still churning out more pollution, as we talk about the oil and gas industry, as we talk about how reliant we are on fossil fuels as an entire global economy. It won't put a dent in any of these issues when we're talking about me opening up my house to a homeless person. So if you can understand at the fundamental level why hyper individualizing problems that require systemic solutions in that regard, and consumer activism being silly in that regard, and you can understand it here as well, right? Oh, not a fair comparison. If the masses stop eating meat, that would make a huge difference. It's a lot easier to stop eating meat than to have a homeless, mentally ill, or substance abusing strangers living in your house. To you, perhaps if you have already stopped eating meat. That's it. You're also living in la la land when you say that the masses are going to just automatically stop eating meat, including myself. You get it? Meat consumption literally has to be reduced, not just for climatic and land use reasons, for little food production to be possible in the future. It's not a question. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Bro, I don't disagree with you. But leaving it at fucking, I said all of these things. Okay? It's one aspect. Stop dox people, Hasan. You ruin people's lives. Oh. What do I do about this? What do I do about a person who's been following since 2020? 2022. 10/7/2022. What do I do about this fucking guy? Oh. Watch the earlier part of the broadcast to know that you're fucking wrong and that you're an idiot. I am anti-doxing always. Why don't you start now if you agree to meat consumption being reduced? Thank you. You're doing it again. You're doing it again and again and again and again because it's a fucking marginal part of our actual overall consumption. And even then, it cannot be curved by individual actions. It has to be done at the systemic level. You are doing it over and over again. You are literally doing the exact same thing that Republicans do on a daily fucking basis. My own individual meat consumption or my carbon footprint is always going to be higher than the average person's because I live in the United States of America. Okay? On top of that, I'm also Twitch streaming. You know what I mean? I'm on a fucking platform that is basic. I'm delivering profits for Jeff fucking Bezos by serving the top of the hour ad break at the top of every hour, which is a 3-minute ad break. All of that is requiring a tremendous amount of fucking energy. Okay? I've talked often about a selfish reason for socialism. I've talked about this before. You can make a selfish argument for solving the homelessness crisis, for example. Okay? Part of the reason why we live in a society, part of the reason why we live in a societal formation, part of the reason why we give money to the government is so that we don't have to fucking deal with a homeless person having a mental health crisis or an episode right in front of our eyes. There are people who are professional, who have studied how to deal with this, who know the best ways to deal with it, who should be hired to specifically fucking deal with it. You shouldn't have to do that. You are not a fucking social worker. Okay? You're not. That's why you pay taxes. The same principle goes for this. Okay? The same exact principle goes for this. You can argue about this till the cows come home, proverbially. Okay? Okay, so why do you eat cheese, Hasan? So are we just going to assume our government has no outside intervention from animal agriculture? Of course they do. There are still meaningful changes that you can make to agricultural output as well from the systemic level. That's what I'm saying. Oh my God, I'm never responding to a vegan ever again. I'm never ever responding to you motherfuckers. You're literally 2% of the chat. We already know. You are 2% of the fucking chat. Okay? And you're making up 98% of the idiotic arguments in here currently. Okay. Also, I sneaked in that fucking top of the hour ad break so goddamn hard. Many of you didn't even recognize it. I myself forgot about it. Okay. Like, if I was hyper libbed up, I would just say, "Oh, I have an electric vehicle." Okay, that reduces emissions, carbon emissions. I don't drive around that much. I stay in one fucking place. Suck my dick. Okay. What have you done? Where's your electric vehicle? But I'm not. So shut the fuck up. What is this? Hasan sets the standard. Let's go W streamer. Oh yeah, this was fire. Tom reacted to a video and replied to chat. For this, we've chained to a stun lock into eternity. I think this was a very informative fucking stun lock. So shut the fuck up. There are plenty of people who like don't even. You don't have an EV. Why do I do this? Like, why do I do anything when I'm in the whims of people who are schizophrenic, who already make up their minds about me and what I do in my own personal life, including like something that I got very publicly canceled for purchasing. You know what I mean? What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing at this point? What am I fucking doing? Why? Why do I talk about anything? This morning, I spent like 2 hours fucking literally talking about how something that I said the exact opposite of was completely fucking misrepresented. Not even misrepresented, really, just lied about. And online. And people are going along with it, saying Hasan mass harassed and doxxed and fucking canceled sorbet and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I covered it after people harassed them. And I shit on the people harassing them and doxing them. And yet it doesn't matter. Why do I do anything when people already have their preconceived notions about what I'm doing and what I'm saying at any given moment? Electricity is 60% of U.S. energy source. Your EV is not green as you think. I thought you would know this. I'm going to kiss myself by literally throwing a fucking toaster in a bathtub to see electricity firsthand. What the fuck are you saying? I already know that. I literally... You're making my argument for me! Fuck! That's my argument! Not yours! That's mine! That's my argument! That's what I said! Shut the fuck up! God damn it! I'm sick and tired of how fucking stupid long-term community members are in this goddamn chat. Fuck you! Also, what you're saying is literally incorrect, okay? It's not even correct, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter because I recognize that individual consumptions like me buying a fucking electric vehicle is not actually moving the goddamn needle. That was the entire point of this fucking stun lock, you stupid fuck. Oh! You're so fucking annoying. And not only are you annoying, you're not even right on the fucking issues. You're not right in analyzing what I'm saying because clearly you misheard what I was saying, I think. You're falling for the same fallacy that you just warned us against. You think you can convince people with logic rather than focusing on pushing systemic change. If you disagree, please don't ban me. What? Kindestein, you're one of the worst chatters in here. I've never banned you, okay? So I don't know why you're like in parentheses going, please don't ban me. You literally chirp at me about all the dumbest shit all the fucking time, especially as it pertains to black issues. Oh my fucking God. And I don't ban you. Why the fuck would I ban you over this?
Also have
After watching for reviews, most of your haters seem to be the dumbest former fans. They're just right-wingers. Yeah, I have a lot of fucking haters that are just like straight up from this community because I fucking scorched earth their assholes because they literally purposely and annoyingly in the most smarmy way misrepresent a fucking point that I'm making, or rather take my fucking point against me and then literally say it and repeat my point in a smarmy way as though like we're fucking arguing against one another. And that is some of the most frustrating things that I have to endure on a regular basis. I ban them while screaming at them, calling them a fucking loser, and they become permanent haters for the rest of their lives. Some of which have even built media careers off of this. My internet went in and out. Holy shit. Did you guys see that? Did you notice that? No. I'm saying like the light went out for a brief